Welcome to our YouTube channel 𝐷𝐵𝐚𝐿. We invite you to dive into a mysterious world where each riddle is a journey through a story that hides clues. The story begins here and now.
𝐞𝐤land, a prosperous nation, was once a model of economic stability. Its streets were filled with bustling businesses, and its citizens enjoyed a high standard of living. The economy was thriving, and the future seemed bright. However, subtle changes began to manifest, disrupting the delicate balance of its economy. These changes were not immediately noticeable, but over time their impact became undeniable. The origins of these disruptions traced back to political and economic decisions made decades earlier, influenced by external and internal factors. These decisions, though well-intentioned, set the stage for the economic challenges that 𝐞𝐤land would later face. The citizens of 𝐞𝐤land, once confident in their future, began to feel growing anxiety in the face of economic uncertainty. News reports highlighted the declining trends, and conversations in cafes and homes turned to concerns about the economy. President Alexander Martin called an emergency meeting with his economic advisors. The urgency of the situation was palpable, and the nation's leaders knew they had to act swiftly. Around the table, the faces were serious. The gravity of the situation was clear to everyone present. Sophie Dubois, the Minister of Finance, opened the discussion. Her voice was steady, but the concern in her eyes was evident. "We have observed a 15% increase in production costs over the past 6 months," she began. "This is a significant rise that we cannot ignore. Raw materials are becoming more expensive, and this directly affects our industries," she continued. The cost of mining, logging, and other forms of raw material extraction had skyrocketed. Jean-Pierre Lefebvre, a renowned economist, added his insights. His expertise was crucial in understanding the broader implications of these changes. "Wages are stagnant, but consumer goods prices have increased by 8% over the same period," he explained. "This disparity is putting a strain on household budgets. Citizens feel increasing pressure on their purchasing power. Families were finding it harder to make ends meet, and the cost of living was becoming a significant concern." Marie Tremblay, a social policy advisor, intervened. Her focus was on the social implications of the economic downturn. "Low-income families are the most affected," she said. "They are struggling to cope with the rising costs. They have to make difficult choices between basic necessities," she added. The image of families choosing between groceries and bills was a stark reminder of the human impact of economic policies. The advisors presented a detailed analysis. Charts and graphs illustrated the severity of the situation, providing a clear picture of the economic landscape. They noted a 10% increase in transportation costs due to rising fuel prices. This was another factor contributing to the overall increase in production costs. Companies, to maintain their profit margins, increased the prices of finished products. This, in turn, affected consumers who were already feeling the pinch. This situation created a vicious circle where production costs and sales prices fed each other. The interconnected nature of the economy meant that changes in one area had ripple effects throughout the system. "We must intervene," declared Alexander Martin. But how? The question hung in the air, a challenge to the assembled advisors. The advisors discussed various options. The room buzzed with ideas and proposals, each one aiming to address the economic crisis. Some proposed subsidizing transportation costs, while others suggested reducing taxes on raw materials. Each option had its merits and drawbacks. However, these measures had significant budgetary implications. The advisors had to consider the long-term impact on the nation's finances. The government decided to subsidize transportation costs by 500 million 𝐞𝐤 and reduce taxes on raw materials by 5%. These measures were aimed at providing immediate relief. They hoped to ease the pressure on businesses and, by extension, on consumers. The goal was to stabilize the economy and restore confidence. However, these measures had mixed effects. While some sectors benefited, others continued to struggle. The subsidies increased public spending by 2 billion 𝐞𝐤, and the tax reduction decreased state revenues by 1.5 billion 𝐞𝐤. The financial strain on the government was evident. To compensate, the government increased taxes on luxury goods and non-essential services by 10%. This was a controversial move, aimed at balancing the budget. This decision provoked mixed reactions among the population. Some saw it as a necessary step, while others viewed it as an additional burden. Some approved the measure, while others criticized it sharply. Protests and public debates became common as citizens voiced their opinions. Despite the government's efforts, the situation worsened. Empty storefronts and declining business activity were signs of the deepening crisis. Companies began laying off employees to reduce costs, increasing the unemployment rate from 6% to 9%. The human cost of the economic downturn was becoming more apparent. Citizens facing rising prices and declining incomes reduced their spending, further affecting the economy. The cycle of decline seemed unbreakable. Another emergency meeting was called. The urgency of the situation demanded immediate action. "We must find a sustainable solution," insisted Sophie Dubois. Her determination was clear, and she knew that temporary measures were no longer enough. Temporary measures are no longer enough. The advisors knew that a more comprehensive approach was needed. The advisors proposed more radical solutions, such as tax system reform and encouraging technological innovation to reduce production costs. These ideas were ambitious but necessary. However, these measures required time to take effect. The advisors had to balance the need for immediate relief with long-term planning. Sophie Dubois explained the situation in detail. Her presentation was thorough, outlining the challenges and potential solutions. "We must stabilize our economy by controlling production costs and increasing state revenues without burdening citizens," she said. Her plan was clear and focused. She proposed launching training programs to improve worker productivity and encouraging companies to invest in more efficient technologies. These measures aimed to enhance the nation's economic resilience. She also suggested strengthening partnerships with other countries to diversify raw material supply sources. This would reduce dependency on any single source and stabilize prices. The government implemented technical measures to stabilize the economy. These included regulatory changes and incentives for businesses to adopt new technologies. They introduced training programs to improve worker productivity, encouraged innovation to reduce production costs, and increased investments in infrastructure to stimulate the economy. These efforts were aimed at creating a more robust economic foundation. Gradually, 𝐿𝐴𝐚𝐬𝐿and's economy began to stabilize. The indicators showed signs of recovery, and the nation's leaders were cautiously optimistic. Consumer goods prices stabilized, companies regained profitability, and citizens regained their purchasing power. The measures were starting to have a positive impact. 𝐿𝐴𝐚𝐬𝐿and had gone through a difficult period, but thanks to well-thought-out measures and prudent management, the economy regained its stability. The lessons learned during this time would guide future policies. Citizens, although aware of past challenges, were optimistic about the future. The sense of hope and resilience was palpable. Dear subscribers, will you be able to identify the central economic concept that constitutes the thread of this story? The journey of 𝐿𝐴𝐚𝐬𝐿and is filled with lessons and insights. Before writing your response in the comments, please read the validity conditions of the responses in the description section under this video. Your participation is crucial in understanding the broader economic principles at play. Each response must be justified by at least 3 clues present in the story. Pay close attention to the details and connect the dots. These clues must be explained or commented on to reinforce your response. Your analysis will help others understand the complexities of 𝐿𝐴𝐚𝐬𝐿and's economic journey. Additionally, modified responses will be ignored, and remember that you only have 2 attempts. Make sure your response is well thought out and supported by evidence from the story.
Dear subscribers, do you have an idea of the answer? Leave your answers in the comments. Don't forget, the first to find the correct answer will win the reward at stake. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. As soon as a winner is crowned, we will publish a special video to celebrate their triumph and reveal the solution to the riddle. So, stay tuned to not miss anything. Don't forget to show your support by liking and commenting on our videos. Subscribe to be among the first to discover our new challenges, and most importantly, share our videos to help our community grow. We look forward to seeing you very soon for more captivating riddles.